reaction because despite Tyler's record this year, and to me, when I saw him go and play events and I saw him go and lose in events, the most surprising thing to me were the names that he lost to. It was a lot of no names, a lot of guys that, and I watch a lot of pool that I haven't heard of. That was the part to me that was more of scratching my head a lot of times. I know he had a final whenever he went and played in that. I think it was in Turkey, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Uh, a 10 ball event where he eventually lost to Clenty,
No, it was the
which is
Austrian Open. The Austrian Open. It was the
Austrian. Okay,
Predator event.
yeah, and there's no shame there.
He
While I
hasn't lost to him.
think
Yeah.
I I know whenever we spoke to Laley, he was saying his picks were more of one being a spark plug, so to speak, and number two is for experience. And you can't argue that Tyler Steyer doesn't have experience in the Mosconi Cup because he does. Um, Going back to what Rob was saying, I don't know if as dangerous as a team can be when they're playing loose, I don't know that I've ever seen Tyler Steyer play loose because he's very focused on his fundamentals. He's very focused on being proper and maybe to a detriment at times. You know, he wants to just approach it every way the exact same way, and then you can have a little hitch in your giddy up and cause you to go and just miss that ball real bad. Um, it's interesting. I think it shows that Shane has a lot more control over this team than maybe we all thought. Because if
I think
it's
so too.
Jeremy picking, I don't think Tyler's got a shot in hell at making on this team.
I don't think Earl does
Um,
either.
yeah, no, exactly for sure. But if you want your guys to go in there, and I mean they're going to be underdogs. There's no doubt about it. If you think they're on the same level, your head's under a rock. But I like the experience factor of it, and all these guys can go and get out. He's been there before. He's been there with fans before, so I think it's a pretty good move. You know, but I'm still going. I still hope Oscar's number 5.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
well, we're
I do
going
too.
to get to that. We are definitely going to get to that. Yeah, I mean, I can't echo everything that you said. I think Tyler's really struggled this year. I think that this is a pick that he didn't have to deserve because I mean, he took second in the Australian Open, and that was a great finish. Other than that, I mean, he hasn't been near the top of really any big events this year, but he's at least been there and he's at least done that. And I mean, uh, we kind of Mike Panozzo kind of touched on this, like if not him, then who, right? And we at least know that in the moment he doesn't fray away from the moment being too big. And I think that given what we have, this is a great pick. I think it's,
Yeah,
and there's a little bit of bias in there, of course, because I like Tyler. I've grown up with him. We're from the same state, and I'm a little biased there, but I think that he's got the heart to handle Ali Pally with 25 more than Ruckus, 2,500 Ruckus fans in there. I know that he can handle it, and we've seen. I won't name names, but we've seen in the last few years, London and even Vegas, when you get that hostile crowd, there are players in the U.S. that just cannot handle it and fold like a cheap tent.
yeah.
We have not seen Tyler do that.
I think he'll be
Uh,
good at that. Yeah. I'm going to
so
take a quote from one of the commentators in the World Series game last night and apply it to this pick and apply it to Tyler. And that quote was by one of the commentators. They said, "You know that if a professional baseball player strikes out or gets out 7 out of 10 times at bat, that's pretty good because he's batting about 300." And that's how I view this. Yeah,
maintain that
maybe
for a
Tyler
career
hasn't
Hall of Fame.
won any tournaments this year, but how many people do? One. There could be 100 people in a tournament or 50, but only one wins. And the competition he's playing against, flip a coin. I mean, between the great players that are playing nowadays, it's a coin flip who's going to actually win that tournament. So coming in at the top 10, I think it's
Rob, is the coin flip or is it a lag? Is it a lag to see who wins?
yeah.
What is
Well,
it?
I did read a comment last week about that the U.S. has to practice their legging, and I can't disagree with that.
I mean, you can
Oh
practice
man,
your lagging all you want. Once you get onto that TV table,
Yeah.
I mean, that
He's
plays
been
different than any table.
he's been everywhere though. Like you got to give Tyler credit. You know, he's
Yeah.
been all over the place
He
all
traveled everywhere.
year long.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, just in that regard, all the money he spent and everything else. I mean, I'm happy for him in that aspect, and
Oh yeah.
because there's not many. I don't think anyone traveled as much as Tyler did to all these events. Well, maybe Shane, but aside from Shane, I don't know, probably more because Tyler played all the Predator events. So yeah.
Yeah. So, well, that's. Let's talk about who the fifth pick is going to be now, because Perhagen is out there in the comments saying that he's making the pitch that Justin Bergman is going to be number 5, and that would be. we all saw the post at one point saying that it will not be Justin Bergman because he has not traveled, and I think that they meant that. I don't know, but Per's acting pretty. Poignant that it might be a thing. So let's talk about the fifth pick. Who do we like to see as the fifth spot? We can start with Panozzo.
You know, I think I would probably, given the makeup of the other 4, I would probably go with Oscar. I don't know how he blends in with the other guys. I don't know what his, standing is with Earl, or, I think he and Tyler get along. Oscar's just a solid player. I've always been, I love Oscar as a person. He's one of the best people in the business, and he's obviously a great big heart money player. The one thing that I always wish Oscar had more of when it came to events like the Mosconi Cup was to play mean, to really be, to hate the idea of losing things. And he just always seemed too accepting to me. And it's one of the reasons everybody loves him, is because he's not a hothead, and he's very accountable for his performance. But I like, in this atmosphere, you got to come with some moxie. You got to have some real, fight in you and show it. And I wish Oscar had more of that. But that said, I think that he's the best pick for number 5.
Molina?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been shy as far as what I thought who should round out this team when it comes to Oscar. And for full disclosure, he's one of my really good friends. But I try to just, and I've said this many times online, is that even if I take that friendship out of it, and if I just look at the way the guys performed this year, show me an American player outside of the obvious who have played better than Oscar Dominguez has against top competition. The guy who came in second in the World Championships, Oscar takes him 98 to 100 in a money match, granted, right? But it shows his ability to go and handle pressure against top competition. It showed his ability to go and come back and never be out of a fight in the World Championships. In matches that he was a dog in every single one of them, well, except for that Sullivan round, but those first 2 or 3, he was a dog against Albin, he was a dog against Wu Kun Lin, and he dominated every single one of them. When I look at how he played against Josh Filler, I've watched that match now 2 times. The guy played smooth, man. He played without fear. Filler didn't get to him, and that was a really big match, and it kind of pissed me off because I think he could have really taken the bull by the horns, and to go and lose the way he did was really frustrating. But I don't think any of those guys outside of Sky or Shane, and even with Oscar's limited schedule, I don't think anyone's had bigger wins under their belt than Oscar Dominguez has. And that's my whole thing when it comes to the way I've been pushing for him to go and round it out. He's got experience. He's been there before. I don't think Earl is going to go and get the better of him, where I think Earl can go and drown a rookie, Let's say if they brought in, just because of his personality. He ain't going to do that to Oscar. And Oscar can go and hang with any of those Europeans, But I like what you said, Mike, about playing with moxie and having that kind of like, you want him to hate that guy. And you're right, he ain't that guy. But he's got a desire, he's got a hunger, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. You know, he really does. And I know there was times, because I've spoken to him a lot, where he was kind of like, man, there's not a chance in hell I go and make the team, you know. And then as he started getting a win here and a win here, maybe it was with him or with me in his ear a little bit, you know. But I legitimately go and think that he's got what it takes, you know. I do, and I say that like it's no disrespect to anyone else. It's no disrespect to Devin or Jeremy or Chris or any of those guys, right? I know Jeremy had a really good run in the World Championships, but man, we can go and compare wins under their belts, tournament by tournament if you want. I don't care. Let's do it. You know, I think he deserves to go and be in that spot. But I'm also glad that he's not dependent on it. You know, he's doing well on his own, him and his family, and running the business out there in Sacramento. They're doing fine, you know, without he doesn't have to go and live off that paycheck like a Tyler may have to, right? So in that regard, I'm happy for him. But until I hear otherwise, I'm going to keep on saying his name. I think it ought to be Oscar.
Yep. Rob, did you want to go next?
Yeah, that's fine. I got to agree with both you guys about Oscar. I not only like him because of his skill and his ability on the table, but his skill and ability with his life off the table. I think that we have a classy individual here who happens to be a great pool player now on the team, and throw him in there, see what he does. I'm no problem with that whatsoever. We all could be very, at the end of the whole thing said and done, very proud that Oscar Dominguez is on the team. I'm really looking forward now to see this team. And when there's 4 players on the team right now, there's not a fifth, right? Out of those 4 players, who has the most moxie? I'll ask a question to the rest of you guys.
I mean,
Mike brought it up about moxie, and who has the most moxie out of the 4 that are already picked?
Well, I would say this: if things are running hot, Sky. If things aren't running hot, then Tyler. If you take the average, Shane.
No, but Sky can kind of be happy-go-lucky too, but he's just the killer, though. I mean, that's the difference. Like, Sky can just go and when Sky's in dead punch, I mean, he's tough to go and fade. But he's got that happy kind of go-lucky way about him too, though. You know,
historically with the Mosconi Cup, he's only
he
like
zeroes
that
in.
when they're up, though.
Yeah, he zeroes in at Mosconi.
Only when they're up. When they're down, you see him. You don't see that.
Well, you know, part of that is the years that they've been down. If you look at the last 5 years, part of the reason they're down is because he's played awful. So he's got a reason to hang his head. In last year he played awful.
Well, that's my point. Is when they're winning,
he played awful.
When he's leading, he
hey, but you could say that about Josh too, though. Josh ain't good from behind either. You know, a lot of these guys can go and check out whenever they're buried. You know, I don't think it takes away from their greatness. I mean, I guess you can argue both sides of it when it comes to Sky, because I've seen him kind of just have that. It's the way he moves around the table, his rhythm. When you see Sky going like stalk the table, you're in a bad game. I'm telling you. and you'll see it when you'll see it in a few weeks.
Yeah, body language in pool is a big deal, and because
Shane can too. Shane can be out there looking dejected in his body language, and I mean they've been saying that for years about Shane. You know, about him being a leader of the team, but then kind of just be there discouraged when the team's in a really big hole. And I think that was something that, you know, Billy helped him out with a lot. You know, was kind of being that engine for them, keeping their spirits good. You know, so I don't know if you'd get that from any of the guys who are remaining. You know, I don't think you'll have that kind of like that heart player out of the people who are left.
Yep. Well, before I touch on this topic, I did text Shane, and Shane said that Tyler was a both captains pick. So both the captain and the vice captain were on board with that pick. So that was not a. I guess somebody said earlier in the comments that that was a Shane pick. That was a both captains pick. Nice. So I guess I'm completely on board with Mike. Once he posted the bracket of him beating like every great player in the world. I mean, how can you argue with that? I mean, who in the entire U.S. outside of Shane has that resume in any tournament? Nonetheless, a World 10 ball event. I'll wait. Anybody?
Who's your fifth pick, Mike? Nate, you didn't.
Oscar. Yeah, I'm completely on board with Oscar. I think Oscar deserves it. I mean, did he travel as much as other people? No. I mean, nobody traveled more than Tyler. Maybe even including Shane. I mean, nobody traveled more. Actually, yes, nobody in the U.S. traveled more than Tyler. Tyler deserves it, if nothing else, because he's the only person in the ring battling every single weekend. Tyler's going to Austria for the Austrian Open. He's going to all of the Michigan, the Arizona, the Ohio Open. Shane is playing the big stuff, and that's his right. I mean, he's a legend. I mean, he doesn't have to play all these smaller tournaments. He can play the big ones because why not? It's his schedule. He's earned the right to pick and choose what he wants to play in. Tyler, every single weekend. Speaking of being here, way more than you want.
You're kind of breaking out a little bit.
Here's Telf.
What's up, kids?
What are you, a librarian, Jim?
Mr. Straight Pool himself.
Is he a librarian? Is that what he is?
I know.
Yeah,
nice
I'm
try
pretty
with the
smart,
books, buddy. Nice try.
I'm at work. Why, don't you believe me?
I see you got the full collection of Dr. Zeus.
Yeah, I got everything here. Anybody want? Yeah, I've got full. Look at that, full library here. I'm at work. Hey, Tyler Steyer. Hey, finally a proper
What do you think,
pick.
Jim? What's your reaction?
I'm happy about that. Yeah, I think he deserves it for more than one reason. I think it's a solid pick. I think it's a good pick. I think it shows, like I said before. I think it's important that the hard workers and the guys that, certainly that I consider they do it the right way are getting rewarded. It's a good pick. I'm happy for him. I've sent him a message already. I've told him I'm going to give him crap in the arena, so he's ready for it. He can handle it. He can handle it. He expects nothing less.
If you get too out of line, Jim, I'm just going to go like this and just right into your face.
I don't care. You do what you like. I'm going to have fun with it.
You and Nate aren't going to be close enough to be throwing drinks at each other, are you?
Oh,
we'll be on each other's lap by the end of it.
No, Nate's going to be in a corner. Nate's going to be in the corner of the alley pally, covered in his own puke and urine. Nate thinks he's going to come and have a quiet weekend, just a couple of beers with the boys. No, it doesn't work like that, Nate. It doesn't work like that. You're going to be a mess. You're going to be a mess.
I hope so. I've been training hard.
Train harder. No, but I'm delighted. I think it's a great pick. I don't know. Does anybody know when we're going to get number 5?
I would assume tomorrow.
Yeah. They're not just going to do both of them today. Well, I hope it's Oscar. I think he's a strong pick. I think it'll be between, the names that I've heard, it'll be between Oscar, Devin Petit, and Chris Reinold. I've heard Jeremy mentioned as well, but not as regularly, I don't think. But we'll see. Interesting pick. I think out of those ones, if it was down to me, I'd go with Oscar. I think just because of his experience and the Earl Strickland factor, I guess. I think he's a strong pick. I notice Mike's doing his best. Is Oscar going to throw you? Is Oscar going to throw you some jelly if he gets in?
He's not. Listen, he's not. He doesn't hit me up to go on politic for him, and that's not really his bag. And he doesn't want to go and be there campaigning for his own self, and he didn't ask me to go and do it. He's my. If ever I'm gonna use, any kind of stage that I got, it's gonna be for my buddy. So
Oscar actually doesn't need to campaign for himself. He's done it all before. He's been there before. He's got all the credentials necessary for it. I think.
Certainly.
So, we'll see.
To be honest, though, I think if he did lobby for himself, I think he'd be on the team.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Especially if he started throwing his resume out there, because who's going to match up to his resume this year, or in general that's left? Don't give me Johnny Archer.
If I'm a captain, I don't want to see anybody politicking for themselves.
No.
It's just in bad. It just isn't a good look, man.
No.
No.
Yeah.
You don't go begging for it.
If you got to tell someone you're good, you're not. If you got to tell someone
Yes,
you're important or not,
I'll tell you,
it's pretty simple stuff.
Mike, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
He has the resume that nobody else in the U.S. probably can compete with. At least the people that are out there right now. Sometimes just putting your resume out there, saying, "Hey, this is what I'm bringing to the table." I mean, there's a way that you could do that to bring attention to who you are and what you bring to the table without actually like shoving.
It's only one guy making the pick, and he knows what the resume is. So I don't see what the point. I don't see what the point would be.
I don't know, because look at the people that are out there he's competing with, right? You and I have both heard the names that are out there. What resume exists there? And yet he's still in contention, right?
Yeah. Apparently.
Listen, it's wide open, because I know over the last 3 weeks, I ain't heard Tyler much. I mean, like, I know we've talked about him in general, but I haven't heard Tyler go and be mentioned. So, and we're supposed to be the donkeys that are in the know. So
we're supposed to be in the know. Yeah. I never heard his name a single. In fact, I heard he was completely out of contention. I heard that nobody was talking about us. Now, with Shane being in there, I should have known better, because I know that Shane lobbies hard for Tyler. Shane respects Tyler's work ethic more than anybody else pretty much in the world. Shane knows what Tyler puts into the game, and he does not just ignore that. Like, I should have known, with Shane being the vice captain, that Tyler was never going to be removed completely.
I know Shane
was
always on the team last year. That much I know. Yeah.
I think Tyler's always in the conversation. I think
rightfully so.
But I mean, going back to what you said there about lobbying for yourself and going, like, basically begging for a place. Yeah, you don't do that, but there's certain things that you can do. There's certain things that you can do to show that you intend to be ready if called upon. If you look at Jason, you didn't see anything of Jason live streaming his own practice sessions. We haven't seen that for a long time. Now it gets towards the time where it's Mosconi Cup. Picks are getting picked, and all of a sudden he's doing drills, he's doing training sessions on his live stream, and he's showing that he's working. And that's basically him turning around to Alex Laley and to everyone else saying, I might have a pretty busy schedule coming up here. I'm getting myself in shape for if I do get called upon for this team. And that's kind of what you do. And I think a lot of players could, you don't need to go saying, I want to be on the team, but you go showing picks are getting made. I think I'm probably in the conversation. So if I am getting picked, I'm making sure I'm ready. And people notice that, and I think that's kind of one way that you can show that, I want to be thought about, I want to be considered, and I want to be ready if I'm picked. Simple as that. Yeah.
All Jason had to do was show his passport. This team wasn't going to be a team without a UK rep.
No. Oh, you're so conspiracy theorist.
Conspiracy theorist. That's good business on the promoter's part. I mean, come on, be serious.
So basically, Jason Shaw is our L. Strickland. Is that what you're saying?
No,
not really.
Oh God.
So let me
the two of them together.
Can I drop this bomb in there? Can I drop this bomb in there?
Jason's a pretty strong player as well. He is
Shut up,
MVP
Jim. Mike wants to talk.
Are we all upfront about why Billy's name is not being brought up in any of these discussions?
I don't know if we're in a position to actually drop that bomb.
I heard a sigh out of Molina Mike.
Are we in a position to drop that bomb?
I'm okay with it. I know Molina Mike and I have talked about this.
Well, I'm okay with it because I've gotten an email from the WPA. So
we have official confirmation that it is 100% set in stone and it's not just some sort of rumor.
Correct. We have confirmation that there was a failed drug test.
Well, there you go.
The email, Mike.
You know what? Listen, I love Billy, and I feel bad, but we didn't avoid it when Mario got the heave ho from the World Cup of Pool a couple of years ago. So, what this is public information, and we look like idiots if we don't talk about it. So we don't have to get really deep into it, but there was there was testing done at WPA event in Las Vegas after the World 10 Ball, and Billy was one of the players chosen, and failed a drug test. So what hasn't been determined is what his punishment is, at least not officially. So, but you got to assume that Mosconi Cup's out of the picture, and that's clearly why his name hasn't been thrown around when everybody's talking about who might be the 4th pick or the 5th pick, because in any other year he's the number 3 pick without even thinking. So, this is no slam on Billy. I just think that we have to get out there and at least say what we know to be true.
So I guess my thoughts on it is, like, how many countries in Europe is weed legal, Jim? You can tell me.
Weed legal in the Netherlands.
Is it just Amsterdam?
But no, in the Netherlands it's tolerated. There's no such thing as legal or illegal for your own use. You can carry around whatever is deemed for your own use. You're not allowed to sell it publicly. You're not allowed to. But smoking it in the streets and everything, you smell it everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but you can smell it.
Beta blockers are legal. So this is not about what's legal and what isn't. This is about what's allowed in
correct, and that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting to, Mike. That's what I'm getting to. Yeah. Like, so the idea. I am of the firm camp that marijuana is significantly better than alcohol. Like, I don't smoke weed at all. I'm not interested in smoking weed. I drink like a fish, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. And with that being said, the players know the contract going into it. They know that they could randomly be selected. And at every single one of these WPA sanctioned tournaments, my understanding is they will take a random selection of 1 to 5 players, but they have the right to literally test the entire field that plays. They have the right to test as many or as few players as they want at any WPA sanctioned event. The players know that going into it. And if you play in a field with 64 players, which I think the Predator 10 ball was, now he got pulled for the Diamond Las Vegas Open, but theoretically, if they pull 3 players out of the World 10 ball, the Predator World 10 ball, they have a 3 in 64 chance of getting selected for that event to be randomly drug tested. The players know the contract going into it. They know that if they test positive, they are on the hook for a 2-year ban. And if you still want to take that risk, I don't think marijuana is that big of a deal, but you know the contract going into it. That's my thoughts on it. It's a shame. We all know good and dang well that we can point to players from around the world, including the U.S., that smoke weed on the regular and just have been lucky enough not to get selected. If they get selected, bummer. You know the contract going in, and that's just how I feel about it. I don't know. Does anybody want to take over from there?
Well, there's in a lot of sports. Take athletics, for example. There's a banned substance list, and it goes down to as far as, if you have the common cold, which kind of cough medicines you can use, because in certain cough medicines, some of these banned substances are in it. Now, it's not going to affect your performance, really, but it will show up in a drug test. So they're given the list of these things, saying, stay away from this. These are the banned substances. Check with your doctor, check with everybody else on what you can take and what you can't take. And then it becomes the athlete's responsibility to make sure that they stay clean. Now, it's the same with pool. You have your doping controls, and there are a list of substances that are not allowed on it. Over here in the Netherlands, if you go to a big tournament, a Dutch championship, being inebriated at the table, is considered as being breaking the substance abuse rules, and you'll be removed from the tournament. You'll probably face a ban of some sorts. So alcohol as well, Now, you can't tell me that a player doesn't. I mean, I didn't know it was marijuana. I didn't know what it was. Apparently, it's a 2-year ban standard from the WPA, which will take him out of any WPA sanction event.
Let me jump in really quick.
That hasn't been determined.
There hasn't been. Yeah,
no,
he has not been punished yet. There's nothing. Correct. There's nothing set in stone as far as punishment.
What I mean is the standard ban is 2 years. I'm not saying that Billy has been given the 2 years. Right. But that is the standard thing. That's what I think a Finnish player recently got exactly the same.
Yep.
Mario He's ban was 4 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me
because
cut
that was
you off really
prescription that he didn't realize. Apparently.
Let me cut you off really quickly, because I think this is the thing. So I saw a comment in there that said we should all strike against Matchroom events for initiating this ban. This has nothing to do with Matchroom.
Zero.
This has absolutely nothing to do with Matchroom. Matchroom did not come with this. This is the WPA. The WPA makes the rules, the player contract that the players have to play by. Matchroom, by sanctioning through WPA for their events, has to adhere to the WPA playbook. So don't get mad at this. Has nothing to do with Matchroom. Don't strike against Matchroom for something that they have no control over. WPA sets the rules. The players sign the contract. They play by the contract that they signed, and that's it. It has nothing to do with Matchroom.
Matchroom's hands are completely tied on this. Matchroom's hands are completely tied on this. They can do nothing about it.
They're not a governing body at the end of the day. And Nate hit the head on the head. You cannot be working with a player while you know that he's got a failed drug test and is under investigation. That's the bottom line. No. So their hands are completely tied in that matter. Now, the rest of it aside, I agree with you. You know the rules, but it is ridiculous. But you know the rules, So it's kind of one of those things, man. You live and you learn, and personally, I don't go and smoke, So, but it doesn't go and affect my opinion on it one way or the other, You knew it was a possibility, and that's just it's unfortunate. But Billy's a grown man, or at least he's gonna go and handle his consequences, and Team USA will go and move on and be fighting in December.
Listen, I mean, over here in the Netherlands, in the Netherlands, a lot of people smoke. They do it recreationally, and it's not just pool. It's everywhere, and it's something that people from all walks of life here in the Netherlands do. But the pool players, they know I have a big event coming up. I'm going to have to stay clean for a period of time before that event, because I think you are as standard. If you get to the quarterfinals or the semi-finals, you are as standard. You will be tested. It's not just a random thing. You're in. There will be random tests, but also everyone who gets that far in the event will be tested. So if you go there realistically wanting a chance to win the event, you're going to have to make sure you're clean for a period of time before that event, because you will be tested. And marijuana stays in your system for a reasonable long amount of time, in your hair anyway as well, and your saliva. A couple of weeks. So your hair. Yeah, so they know that say 2 or 3 weeks from before, boom, cold turkey, I've got to get off this stuff because I'm going to play that tournament and I want to have a chance to actually win it.
And shave your head.
It's a standard thing.
Yeah, I don't.
They don't actually take hair off.
Rob, if we'd stayed in your hair for years, then you'd have hair. Don't lie to us.
Yeah,
I've had it before. They give you a urine test and a swab in your mouth. Yeah. A swab and a urine test, and that's it. I mean,
it's about 3 weeks. Is about the time.
Anyways, I just wanted to bring it up, not to argue the merits of WADA or Olympic drug testing or anything like that. Just to clarify, why we're having all these discussions and we're conspicuously not, even talking about Billy. So. I just thought that it needed to be put out there, so we can move on.
Yeah.
The comment in the chat. I mean, that is such a conspiratorial thing. It has nothing to do with the fact that the U.S. players are potheads. I mean, that's the silliest thing I've ever read. It's not even. It's
posters going to be posters.
That's such a the world is not out to get U.S. pool players. I promise you that. You don't have to think that everybody is out to get us. Like, that's not a thing.
I live in the Netherlands. You guys don't even know what a pothead is. Come over here. I mean, come on. You guys are amateurs as far as pothead goes. I mean, geez.
What it does is it essentially affords another player an opportunity to go and make the team, because for all intents and purposes, Billy was a lock to make that team. Billy's one of these. He's part of the quote unquote big three that I would have argued is untouchable for USA. I don't care what events he played in or didn't play in. He was I don't think Justin's in that mix. I think for me the big three is going to be Shane, Sky, and Billy. And I think it don't matter how much or how little he played, he was going to be on that team. So what it did, it allowed one of these other guys an opportunity to go and make it. So we're going to see.
I don't think anyone would disagree that Justin is probably a better player than Billy. But when you're talking about the whole package for Mosconi Cup, what Billy brings to the entire team on and off the table is priceless as far as the USA is concerned. Really, you don't have another player like that. and it'll be a big miss for them not to have him there, and it'll be a big miss for Sky not to have his buddy there with him. And I'm sad. I'm sad that it happened to Billy, but on the other side, I'm kind of glad that somebody is being made a bit of an example of in this, and I hope it is publicized in the correct way. I'm just a bit sad it was Billy, really, because I like him. Yeah.
Yep. So, and to be fair, I did reach out to Billy and offered him to be able to come onto the podcast and give his side of the story. He never responded, so I have to assume that he was not interested in doing that. So this did not come out of just nowhere. We did give him the opportunity to come on and talk about it. He was not interested. So I guess from there, we can go back to the conversation about the Mosconi Cup pick. Tyler gets in. We've all kind of given our picks. We all kind of consensusly want Oscar, right? Is anybody else against that pick? No, I think we're all on board for wanting Oscar.
We want the big O. We want the big O.
I personally would be okay with Chris Reinhold for the same reason that you were talking about, Jim. He travels more than anybody else, and I think that at some point in time, I think it's good to give, even if he's not playing his top gear game. I think the rewarding the people who travel to play in these events, I think, is a good thing. And
I agree with that. I can't argue with that at all.
Yeah. You can't argue with that. I mean, Chris works as hard at it as anybody and is committed to it. And he got rewarded for that last year and did well. This year, I think it was with Billy's loss. I think it was kind of a Chris or Tyler situation. I don't think he was going to pick both of them. So, he'll just try harder for next year. If it's not him, if it is him, I have no problem with it. If it's not him, he'll just keep plugging away because that's the way he is. And I'd like to see him continue to be on teams going forward because we have to start getting those younger players in there and getting them more experience on an annual basis, even if they take their lumps for a couple of years. So
there's plenty of young talent, from Shane Wolford to Justin Martin, the kid who just won the junior event. I like Justin Martin too. Solid young man. But there's plenty of guys who are young to go and choose from. And like Mike said, I mean, at a certain point, you just kind of have to throw them in there, right, and just see if they can go and swim. So because I've been saying this for months now, you can't go into it with the same team, So from that standpoint, I like Tyler. He's a winner because he's won in this event before, so he's got what it takes to go and get there. So congratulations to Tyler Steyer.
He doesn't know how to lose.
No.
Relax.
Well, you'll find out pretty soon.
Relax.
Shut up, Mike. You're just trying to protect your bets. You're just protecting your bets there.
Hey, listen,
Tyler's the kind of player that
we can go fire on every match. It's all good with me.
Can bring up. We all have our playing games, and then we all have the games that we strive to play too. And Tyler's one of these players. I think we put him in that situation, that Mosconi Cup atmosphere, and his game's going to come up. It's not going to go down. He's not going to falter. He's going to play. He's going to play to the highest level that he's possible of playing to. That's what I like about him.
Well, for anything else, he'll be prepared. You can't go and argue that. Tyler's going to go and work his ass off and be prepared for December.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot go and argue that at all.
Can I just say to Lance Lisciotti, Matchroom haven't picked any of those players.
Matchroom doesn't make picks.
The only picks that Matchroom have made is Jeremy Jones as captain and Shane Van Boning as vice captain player. The rest of the picks were made by those two. So Matchroom have had nothing to do with the picks so far. Justin Martin, I just want to mention Justin Martin. I watched one of his matches, and his demeanor around the table and the way he played the game, his fundamentals, he looked very, very strong. It looked like he's got a real good basis to really build up through the game. I'm not sure how old he is. He must be under 23, I think it was. The under 23s or under 21s at the.
I think he's like 22.
He looked really, really good. I was quite impressed with him, especially the way his demeanor around the table and the way he played the game. It was very nice. As far as the picks will go, yeah, I mean, we've mentioned kind of 4 names. You know, you've got Chris Reinhold, Oscar, Jeremy Saucy, and Devin Poteet. Now, like Mike said, they're going to have to start getting some fresh guys into the team and bedding them in and trying to build up like a proper group that they can choose from and see who's the best out of these 8 or 9 every year, and we start feeding, you know. This year would not be the right year for me, in my opinion. I don't think you really want to be bringing a rookie in when you've got the Earl factor.
No,
in my opinion,
no.
I wouldn't be bringing a rookie in. I'd be looking for somebody with experience. So that for me straight away takes Saucy and Devin Poteet out of the equation. So then you're down to Oscar and Chris. On the same basis,
I think Saucy's personality could handle it, but
you don't know. It's a think. It's a think. There's that hasn't been there before. And that's where I would go back to Chris Reinhold and say, yes, you have played in the Mosconi Cup. You did last year, but it was in an empty room. And this is going to be completely different. So for me, I said it before, Fedor and Chris, if they'd both been picked this year, they'd still be rookies, in my opinion, to a certain extent, because they haven't played in front of that crowd. Which is why, for me, Oscar would, if I'm picking the team personally, Oscar gets the pick. Because of the experience factor, he's not going to get overawed in there.
I like what Matt Poland just said there. Bring back Justin Hall. Wouldn't it be great if that guy could like keep himself in the game? Because oh my God, I don't even care. You can include Shane Van Boning in this conversation. Who has more talent than that guy? How great would it be to have him every year?
It's another lost soul in the American pool. You know, it's just another guy that. Well, it is. It's just another guy that just had bags and bags and pilot. And at some stage, he had a crossroads, and he decided to go left when right would have brought him into, you know. But that's the choices that you make, I guess. And
dealing with one of those things is difficult in and of itself. You know, dealing with Earl by himself in an empty arena, dealing with the fans by themselves, you know, is going to be tough. You go and put both those things together, and being a rookie and representing your country and essentially brand new to anything Matchroom, because Saucy and Devin Poteet have not been on any Matchroom stage at all. So I mean that's just, it's a lot to go and ask. You know,
it is. And the one thing that I will say, and you guys brought up these points about Justin Martin and people like that, and a lot of good young talent, Shane Wolford. My bitch with the U.S. pool industry and with the BCA and whoever else could help get this done is that you can't just watch these guys through the course of the year and say, okay, we'll take a couple of these young guys and throw them in the Mosconi Cup. What the U.S. needs to do is develop some organized system of developing this young talent, of getting these top 8, top 6, top 10, under 23 players and getting them together 4 times a year, 5 times a year. It's some kind of camp, and just drilling them and getting them to understand what it takes to get to the next level. Just letting them play in bar pool tournaments around the country during the year and occasional pro tournaments, and then deciding in December whether or not they can handle Alley Pally, to me doesn't make any sense. So that's the one thing that I would really push the billiard industry in the U.S. to get behind, is to establish some kind of organized training method for the young players. If they want to call, I mean, we've got Team USA and Junior Team USA, find some other name for it, but establish something where you bring these players in, you pay for their time, you pay instructors, and you get them to work in the proper way. That's my soapbox for today.
That's such a point.
Just the fact that we got Mike cussing, so we know they're in trouble.
What did I say?
I think you said the B word.
Did I say bitch?
Oh my God! Now I can't.
God damn.
There goes ads for this. There goes ad for this. There goes ads for this post.
I mean,
thanks, Mike. You owe me.
There
4 cents.
There are other solutions to this. You know,
what are you looking for? Look at it. To me, you got to look at performance and experience, and that's why I've been barking for my boy. You know, because anybody else, they don't go and check off that box for me. They just don't. You know, and I'll debate it till the end of the day with you about it if you want. And that's the reason why I've been pushing it the way that I have. I mean, Tyler's got the experience, so you can't go and knock him for being in that spot. But like I would say, and you know, me and Nate have talked about it plenty of times on here, is that I would have thought Tyler might have played his way out, you know, over the last few months, because his play really hadn't been, you know, all that great. Yeah, it's been a rough couple of months. But
Well,
if you're gonna go with experience, just keep that going. That's all I'm saying. Just keep it going.
agree,
Yeah,
but
stick
you
it,
know,
go-
you're preaching
go
to
with
the
it.
choir. Nobody on here is arguing with you. We've all picked
Yeah.
Oscar.
Yeah,
I'm just hot,
I
Mike, that's
still
all it is.
I still am over here just like dreaming in a perfect world. In a perfect world, how great does a team look with Shane, Sky, Justin Bergman, Justin Hall? How great is that for a starting four? You can pick your fifth from there.
Yeah.
That is a team
They'll
that
be-
can
they'll-
act in a perfect
Yeah.
world where Justin and
Yeah.
both Justins are like playing and like taking it serious. Oh, Europe,
Tried
you
it.
can have your team. We're at least going to
No, that-
compete. We're going to get
that's-
past five.
Tried it. It didn't.
No,
Oh,
stick.
it's definitely a team that could make it to the
Oh.
final.
We would make it to day four.
It's just- it's a good team for second place. I'll get you second place with that team.
Man,
That's a real team.
it's
That is
race
a
the 5-9
real team.
ball. Come on, man. It's race the 5-9
Yeah,
ball.
exactly.
Hey, listen,
Anything can go and happen.
But
it's tough because Europe has nothing but number ones.
It's only going to get worse. It's only a month away. It's only going to get worse with me.
I know. We're gonna have to. I'll get the mute button ready for you, Jim. Don't worry.
But going back to what Mike Panozzo said, yes, that would be perfect if there was a system in place. But you can also, just specifically for the Mosconi Cup, you can already do something like that. You saw, I mean, with the COVID time and stuff, it's been a bit more difficult and different. But you saw what's wrong with a captain turning around to Matchroom and saying, you know what, I'm going to select 10 players myself, and I'm going to travel with those 10. You know, they will be expected to commit to certain events. Doesn't have to be all of them. But I'm going to, you know, I would be taking a group of 10 and I would include a couple of youngsters who can learn from the more experienced players like an Earl even and Oscar and whatever, but outside of the Matchroom area. At the moment now, if you put a rookie in, you're asking him to get used to playing with these guys within like a 3 or 4 day period, just running up to the tournament. You can't really do that. You want to do it over a longer period of time, you know?
That's
So if
exactly.
nobody else is going to do it, why not do it yourself? Why not do it
That's
yourself,
exactly what
you know?
Johan did in 2018. That's exactly what
And look how
Johan
that
did in
worked out.
2018.
Look how
He
that worked out.
politicked. He politicked and petitioned Matchroom to fund
Yeah.
more training camps for the U.S. team to get together, and he did it, and they won.
Yeah.
Then
And
the,
they look, and
then the
and not
budget
just
got
winning, they
slashed.
looked like a
and-
proper
Proof
team.
is in the pudding there.
Yeah, exactly. So do that. I mean, if I'm Team USA captain, that's what I'm doing. I'm saying to all these players, to Bergman as well, saying I don't actually care whether you think now you're not going to travel. I'm putting you in these 10 because other players can learn from you, from your experience. If in November you turn around to me and say I'm not traveling, or I decide you're not getting in the team anyway, fine. But I'm going to use you to boost the other players and create this team atmosphere. And then you get a team, and then you turn around and say, okay, 5 from the 8 are going to get through. If you choose to put a rookie in, you put him in because you know he fits in that team with the rest of those characters. You know, and then you have something to work with. You have kind of a system that will give you the best chance to get that 5 players working together in just over a short 4 day period. That's all it is. But to do this all just in a couple of days before is very, very difficult to do when you've got a team that's got so many different characters, and it is a bit dysfunctional. It's like a dysfunctional family that's going to be sent there. You know, when you add in the crazy old grandpa kind of thing, and yeah. I mean, I would just.
Well, I mean, listen,
Team
Team USA's been they've had a lot of curveballs to go and deal with, you know, and they've had a lot of. Listen, it's a lot easier when you got 20 number ones to go and pick from, Jim, and it's easy to go and pick your feet up and smoke your cigar and talk about how great you are, you know. But
I feel bad for Germany again. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough spot.
If you turn around to anybody and say go and captain USA, but you're not getting Bergman and Thorpe, it doesn't matter who you are, you're in trouble then. You know?
Yeah.
Or
That's already-
or
that's-
Duchesne
that's
or
already-
Justin Hall or
Yeah, that's it. You're already in a cannon. You already lost 2 of your top guys, 2 of your cannons out of your team. It's like, whoa, how do I fill those? You know, how do you fill those boots?
Yeah, and I mean the rest of the guys, they all want some kind of structure in place so that way they know what they have to do to be in contention. I think I've heard it from everyone, from the matchroom side to the players to you name it. You know, they want something in place where they know, you know, where they got to go and attend and a point system and all that. So that way they know.
Mm-hmm.
And right now that's not the case, but it doesn't mean you got to go shit on them along the way, right? I mean, it's step-by-step processes, right? So we'll see.
Oscar. Pick Oscar.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, I think that at the Mosconi Cup, they should have a special camera that focuses on Telfer and one that focuses on Mindham.
I've got one all the time anyway, don't worry.
Oh.
Listen, you're gonna
because I've got
it's a month out and Team USA is not announced. They're gonna be up against it. Filler is looking like he's in dead punch after winning that straight pool event. You got Albin. I mean, he's playing as incredible as he was at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I don't even know, man. I mean, they got the world 10-ball champion. I mean, it's so gross just how stacked they are.
So here,
you know, I think every single one of them can handle pressure. I mean, it's ridiculous, man.
Here's how much the U.S. is up against. Here's how much the U.S. is up against. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has won the last 2 Eurotours. You know how hard, there are people that think the Eurotour is the hardest tournament of the year to win. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has won the last 2 in a row, and he didn't even get consideration for the Mosconi Cup.
I've been saying it for 2 years. I thought he was the best player in Spain. Come on now.
Alex Kazakis is the world pool master, and he didn't even get a single consideration for the team. Fedor Gorst is once removed from the world.
He traveled more than Tyler did,
and he won everything for like a stretch of like 3 months. He didn't lose a single tournament. I swear to you, he was robbing every single event in the U.S. and every single money match.
Yeah, there's 20 European players that could be on our team easily.
You could take the second 5 from Europe. Fedor and Alex Kazakis and Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. You could create a second team and probably go and beat the first team. It's possible.
But I mean, it's what Jeremy Mason. Jeremy Mason, you're absolutely correct. If you look at the European team, on current form, our worst player is probably Jason Shaw. On current form, it's not too bad, is it? And the rest of them, the rest of them are all in dead stroke at the moment. It's almost like you would think there's a big event coming up and they've just got themselves ready in time for it or something like that, wouldn't you?
This is why I just laugh when all these like American fan conspiracy theorists come out and say how Matchroom's just trying to go and dog the team and set them up for failure. Listen, man, they want nothing but for this thing to be competitive. 1,000%. And if you think otherwise, you're crazy. I mean, they really do.
Let me say this to Matt Poland. Jason Shaw's children are 3 and 4 and 2. Is that right, Jim? 4 and 2.
Yep, round about that. Yeah, yep.
Jason Shaw's been a great player for a long time. You want to say starting a business made him backslide? Sure. His oldest child is 4 or 5 years old. He's been a monster that entire stretch. Having a child did nothing to his game except for maybe made him more refined and even a better player. He really came into his element about 3 or 4 years ago. He really came into his element. Starting a business, you want to make that argument? Sure. Don't blame it on the kids. That dude became a beast after having a child.
There's only one thing Jason Shaw's done that's harmed his game over the last years, and that's a whole different topic. And that's swapping cues. I don't understand why he swapped cues. That took him a couple of years to go over that. But he's getting back there now. Money, yeah, okay, it's money. We know it's money. But I didn't want to just say it's money.
Well, Jim, I want to ask you because you're a great player, great pool player, and you've got kids. Did it make any difference in your life and your pool career?
Jim has kids. Soon to have kids.
I've got 1.5 kids. Yeah, one that's brewing in the oven at the moment.
He's got one bun in the oven.
Congratulations, old man. You still got some bullets in the chamber, huh?
I can look into this.
Don't worry about Jim's 2 for 2.
I might look all messed up on the outside, but I'm still young on the inside.
A couple of beers and you're young again, I bet, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Hey, my juices are still good.
Yeah. Kids and a business. That's like the recipe for ruining your pool game. Trust me, it is.
Listen, my game. I'm not a pro. I'm not a pro. I don't depend on pool in order to make money. I have a job, so it's difficult for me to judge whether or not my game decreased with having a kid. Obviously, you don't play as much. You don't practice as much.
Right.
I don't think having kids affected Jason. I think if anything's affected Jason, it's that he's been putting more of his time into his business to build that up, which I can understand because that's his pension plan. That's his after pool kind of plan. You know, it makes sense for him just now to make sure he builds it up to something successful. And you know what? Jason's the kind of guy, he can be away from the table for a while, and it doesn't take that much for him to get back into stroke. He's, you know, you see these lefties, these talented lefties, the same as Filler. I reckon Filler could put his cue away for 2 years and come back and still shoot 200 quite easily.
He's back now. That kid is back now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think Jason's too worried. I don't think he's ever considered himself to be that kind of player that he has to be playing all the time. Like a Niels, for example. Niels has to be continually in action and playing and in tournaments to get himself into stroke. And when he gets there, he'll hold that for a long period of time and he'll be a complete beast. Jason gets there really quickly and he'll go down and up a little bit, depending, but it doesn't take him much. Give him 20 minutes on the table and he'll be banging everything in again. I mean, I'm not worried about Jason. He'll go to Mosconi Cup. He'll get
he delivers in big spots, man.
He'll be fine. Exactly. He knows exactly how to get himself ready. He knows how to get himself ready in a short period of time. He started working now. He'll get to the event. He'll get on that Rasson table or the Predator table. I'm not sure which one they'll be using for the Mosconi in the practice room. He'll get used to the slick balls, the conditions, and he'll be a monster again. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up snapping off another MVP because that's just the kind of player he is. Simple.
I agree with you.
Well, we still have one more major topic that I want to hit on. So I guess the Mosconi Cup is. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about or anything else they want to say?
Pray for us.
Pray.
I've seen a few comments on here now today about the races being short, and they're asking questions about
that's a bunch of
talking.
bullshit, man.
We've talked about that before on the show.
That's more exciting.
And I think that's just old news. I think the short races are fine.
Yep. Well, we're gonna jump topics, but first we are going to run a short little ad, a little Manscaped ad, and I do have to make a little pitch here because we are halfway to our goal. If we get 4 more people to order the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 in the next week, we get funding. We get funding for this crappy podcast that 80 people are watching right now. So 4 people. Well, here. We'll catch you on the other side of the break.
Well, guys, guess what? We get to do an awesome Manscaped ad.
I've been waiting for this.
You are excited. I'm telling you what, it's like a 3-year-old on Christmas morning just waiting for Panozzo to be able to talk about the Lawnmower 4.0. And Molina hasn't even smiled since he found out that we had to do this. So how are you feeling, Molina?
That's all I got.
Jim, how are you feeling?
I even prepared some before and after pictures that I'll post later on.
Yeah, we'll post those to the to the Queue It Up page.
I just want to know what 3-year-old on Christmas is using this.
That's what I'm saying. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
well, I'm just talking the level of excitement.
I'm not sure the child reference is really appropriate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Instantly kicked off.
Exactly. You won't have to do this again, Nate, because you just lost your sponsorship.
Well, until we lose it, let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
So, you, as the viewer, can show your support for the Queue It Up podcast by going to manscaped.com, where you have the opportunity to get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code QueueItUpPod. You could get yourself an amazing Lawnmower 4.0. And Jim says your balls will thank you. So how do we do this? What is the Manscaped 4.0? The Manscaped 4.0 is the best men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. There it is, Jim. Show it off. Check that out. Molina's like,
it's sweet. I promise you could shave the hair off a balloon with this.
That's also true. We tested it. We can't
buy these kind of testimonials. Let me tell you.
No. The Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. The 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code QItUpPod at manscaped.com. And that is going to be right in the chat. So check it out there. And if we get a bunch of these, you are going to be able to support us with actual funding for the podcast from Manscaped. So please take the opportunity. Awesome. Turn it on, Jim. Fly it across the screen, loud and proud. You didn't turn it on. Oh, you did turn it on. There it goes. Look at that light. Look at that.
It's even got a light. It's even got a light for those dark.
It's even good.
You can shave in the dark.
Fully functional.
Yeah, you can get to those dark and dirty places with that light. It's very good.
You can get everywhere. You can get places you didn't even know you had with that flashlight.
I don't even know.
And there you go. There's our ad. Go to manscaped.com and enter in code QItUpPod to get yourself 20% off and free worldwide shipping.
Do it.
Trim the hedges. Your ladies will thank you.
Boy,
that never gets old.
Yeah. This show just took a dive, boys.
Oh, we got Rob over here shaving his face.
Still the highlight of my media career, that is.
It's right in the corner of your ear. Really nice.
What did the number of viewers
You're
plummet
supposed to put it.
Actually, you know what? To be honest, we went down 2 viewers. That's it. Pretty good, huh?
Nice. But they're off ordering.
That's because they're all
like
I
I
said, they're all like ordering it now, aren't they?
Those 2 people. You know, if we get 4 more people, we actually get real outside funding into the industry. So if you need yourself a nice shaver for something, yes, we're gonna get to. We need to get to 4. So, hey, don't lie. You can't actually nick anything. Get out of here.
So how much is one of these for people who buy it?
I don't know. I think they're like $60 or something like that, maybe.
It's worth every penny.
4
worth
people,
every penny.
4 people buy it. I'll throw in a subscription to Billiards Digest.
Ooh!
Oh, I'll buy one for that.
Ooh,
That's a good deal.
Sweetening the deal.
That's a good deal, man. I'm in.
Talking now.
I'm in.
All right,
Action.
and anybody else who does, I'll throw in.
It's gotta be a new subscriber. No renewals.
No renewals.
Oh.
He must have made it. He must have made a he must have made a fortune out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He's giving
Well,
stuff away now.
that's a perfect segue. Let's get into it. I guess we'll talk about the International Open first. Albin continues his streak. He's crushing it. He gets first place. He wins over Dennis Arcoyo. Third, fourth goes to, was it Shane and Didi, right?
Yeah, Shane and Aranis.
Yep.
Yeah.
I sneezed. It was
How
fantastic.
strong did Aranis play? It's only a matter of time before he snaps off a big one, I think.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Aranis.
If he's playing.
Yeah.
When he plays.
If he's playing. Yeah.
It's a matter of time.
So I mean, I guess I don't want to spend too much time on the International Open. I mean, it's an amazing event, and we probably should give it way more justice than we are. But I want to talk about the Hall of Fame banquet because we have somebody here who is a voting member and the guy who runs the thing.
They were desperate, huh?
I just
They were
run the
desperate for
bank.
votes.
I need a duck. Him.
I just run.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bank.
So yeah, it's kind of hard to get the right side, right? It's tough. All right. So Mike,
Yeah, no,
tell us about the weekend.
I'm sorry.
Tell us about it. Come on, let's hear.
Oh well, no, the Hall of Fame banquet. You know, I say every year it's the best night of the year because it's completely different than, you know, tournaments and interviewing people after tournaments and whatever. This is, you know, the history of the sport's important. You know, our sport has a lot of great history, and we have to celebrate it more, and we have to embrace it more, and we have to, you know, get it out there more. When we do a video at the beginning of the Hall of Fame banquet that shows every Hall of Fame inductee over the years, you know, when you see these slides and these little videos pop up of Mosconi and Luther Lassiter and Fats and you know, Johnny Layton and guys like that, you start to realize what the history of your sport is. I mean, current players look at that stuff, and it's it's really pretty cool. And so this is an opportunity once a year to celebrate the players for what they've done, and to pat them on the back, and to put them on a stage, and to clap for them, and to, and they approach it differently. It's a big deal to them, and it should be. I mean, it's a really cool thing. And so, this year we inducted Kelly Fisher, who was the inductee from 2020, and Torsten Holman, who was the inductee from 2021, because last year we weren't able to have a banquet. And there were about 10 or 11 other Hall of Famers there to join the banquet. Nick Varner, Mike Massey, Gerda Hofstetter. Yeah, it was fantastic. And it's just a great opportunity, because you see those people. I mean, look at that. Jeanette was there. That was the coolest thing. I absolutely fell apart like a baby introducing her when I introduced all the Hall of Famers who were there. So I apologize for that. But it was really an emotional thing to see her come in there. And she was so excited to be there. And these are just legends in the sport. And I love it when there's younger players, the aspiring players, who are there in the crowd. I mean, Josh and Pia were there, and Mario He, and Max Lechner, and Shane, and all these players are in there watching this banquet. And it's got to be a cool thing for them to look up, and it's kind of an aspirational thing, and it's something you hope you could be in, and you realize that you're part of history of a sport like that. And the speeches this year were fantastic. Ralph Eckert introduced Torsten Holman, and Allison Fisher introduced Kelly. And the coolest thing about the night is that you get a side of these players that you don't get anywhere else. You don't get in a post-match interview. You don't get hanging around the bar. I mean, Torsten told stories about his upbringing that, I've known Torsten since 2003. I didn't know half of, the things that he told about his background and the things he's overcome. Same with Kelly Fisher. And so they're in this position where they're just willing to be more outgoing and outspoken, and talk a little bit more about themselves in ways that they don't normally do. And so all of that stuff put together, to me, makes it the best night of the year. It was a fantastic event.
And here
I know what you're talking about when
Kelly Fisher speech.
When you say that, Mike, that being around these types of great historic players is a truly great experience. I happened to have a chance about 3 weeks ago to be talking to and having breakfast with Frankie Torres, who was a champion 3-cushion billiard player from years ago. And I asked him about his history and some of the players he met and played against. And when he told me a story about Willie Hoppy, it was one of the first 3-cushion tournaments he had ever played in Illinois, and Willie Hoppy was there, and he played against him. And I was just in awe listening to his explanations of, the kind of player he was and the person he was. And wow, just to be around that, I'm going to really make an effort next year to come and be at that banquet if I can. Just for that reason.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a great night, like I said, and you get, the younger players there watching the Hall of Famers who are up on the stage, and the Hall of Famers giving speeches, and there's industry people there, and there's just fans of the game there. It just makes for a really, really great night.
So what was your most fun memory from it?
From this year's? I think, my favorite part, although I was a complete mess and disaster at it, was getting to introduce Jeanette being there. Knowing what she's been through. She looked fantastic. She arrived there, they kind of brought her in. She was in a wheelchair, and she went up to her room and rested and whatever. And then she came down. I was worried about how she was going to hold up to the banquet. She comes down, she's got this black skirt on and thigh-high patent leather black boots. And it was like, all right, she is always ready for action. And she was terrific. She looked great. And so that was a highlight. And Torsten's speech was really illuminating and fantastic, and from the heart. And he talked about, having to see a shrink when he was a kid because he was so introverted, and all the struggles he went through, the emotionally things like that. It was really cool. And then to see Torsten, who's as prim and proper as they go. Mike dropped the end of his speech by dropping an F-bomb was great. So, yeah, well, it was yeah, the whole night's a highlight to me. I mean, it's just my favorite night of the year.
Nice.
Mexico wasn't worth it.
Well, y'all got to be there next year. Yeah,
well, you got a partner to go with you next year, Nate. If you want to go.
Is it only one player per year, Mike?
It's usually one player in the greatest player category. There can be two players inducted in the same year in greatest player if they both receive more than 75. They're both named on more than 75% of the ballots, but that's only happened once, and that's the year that Allison and Johnny were eligible in the same year. And so they just dominated everything. So it's normally one a year. Usually there's a second inductee, whether it's meritorious service or what we call a veterans committee. A player who turned 60 and kind of got, hadn't been elected yet and was off the ballot. And then we get a committee that looks at those names and says, is there someone on here that we missed? So that's how Danny DiLiberto got in a few years ago, and Jose Perica and whatever through the Veterans Committee.
You posted a picture, Mike, just a few minutes ago of there was 8 people there, or 10 or whatever. Who was the fella in the upper left-hand corner, the second from the left? Next to Mike.
That's Pat Fleming.
Pat Fleming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Great player in his own right, but he was a meritorious service inductee for AccuStats for all his
and the U.S.
work.
Open.
The stats and rescuing the tournament, and all around good guy.
Did you want to go through everybody that's on here just in case?
Well, top left, you got Darren Appleton. Obviously, he was inducted just in 2017. There was Pat Fleming. Mike Massey was also inducted in meritorious service for his years as an entertainer on the road with trick shots. Still did a trick shot show before this year's final, and he still, has a stroke that everybody envies. Ralph Soke next to him. Nick Varner, who was the longest tenured Hall of Famer there. I think he was inducted in 94. Gerda Hofstetter was inducted in 2018. She's in the top right. In the bottom from left to right, you've got Allison Fisher, Kelly Fisher, Torsten Homan, and Jeanette Lee.
It's a decent crowd for pool legends, I guess.
There's a few titles in that group.
There's a world title. So. A bunch of promising up and comers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I appreciate your giving time to the Hall of Fame, to this discussion, because it's, obviously it's near and dear to me.
Well, I particularly liked your story on Facebook also about talking to the gentleman on the street after, a day later or whatever, that you met at a bus stop or whatever. And this guy was kind of maybe like a little bit of a homeless fella or whatever. And he knew the Black Widow. And
he sure did.
Very interested. I thought that was just a wonderful anecdote.
Yeah. No, it was cool. It meant a lot to me too. Just, having gone through that couple of days with Jeanette and thinking about the impact she's had on the sport and her reach outside the sport. And then I run into this guy at a bus stop, and, we get to talking about one thing or another. And next thing I'm mentioning pool, and he's mentioning the Black Widow. And then I showed him the photo that I took with the Black Widow, and he was all excited. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, those types of things happen. It is special.
It is.
Did I ever tell my TSA story with Jeanette Lee? I probably didn't. I was so for one of her benefit tournaments down in Jacksonville, or not Jacksonville, Tampa. I went down to help them with the stream on that side. Mika Immonen ended up winning that tournament, and I took a set of balls down there just to get a couple signatures from the players who were there, and I got stopped going through. TSA, they don't like sets of balls going through in a backpack, so I always get stopped whenever I have a set of pool balls in my backpack. And they're like, okay, well, go on through. They swab every single one of them. They literally stopped me, pull out every single one of the balls, swab every single ball individually, put it in this little thing. And, on the way back, though, I got stopped again. And once they opened it up, they actually recognized Jeanette Lee's signature. And they're like, oh, this is the Black Widow, right? Oh, you're good. Put the cat back on hand. That's what sent me on my way. They didn't swab any of them. They recognized her name, her signature.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, this is real. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's cool.
The first TSA check probably took me 15 minutes by the time that they swabbed every single one of the balls. The second time they saw her name, they're just like, good, you're great. See you later. I ended up hanging around for like another 15 minutes to tell them the story of, they were interested. They wanted to know. They actually wanted to hear the story of like how she's doing. And they didn't know that she had cancer, of course. I mean, I don't think that news is officially translated outside of the industry besides, I think what TMZ did a story on her.
Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated did a fabulous story on her.
Yeah. Oh. How many people really read the Sports Illustrated? I mean, I don't know. I haven't read Sports Illustrated for years.
Well, their circulation's still over 1 million, so I would think that that's not bad.
Yeah. That's not bad.
A lot. That's a lot. All right. Well, I guess let's talk a little bit about, I guess, the Bigfoot challenge. We haven't talked about that yet. I know it was getting deep into it. Joshua Filler started his tear. I mean, he won the 14.1, and then he won the Bigfoot challenge. He didn't have the greatest finishing in the main event, but then he goes over to Europe and continues his winning ways. But I mean, Joshua Filler's playing strong. He beats Mika Immonen in the finals. Great to see Mika Immonen get in there for a great finish. That's awesome to see.
And Mika played well in the 9-ball as well.
He did.
Yeah. He finished. Mika ended up 5th through 8th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's playing fantastic and costing me a lot of money along the way too. I don't know how many times I bet.
Don't bet against my boy.
We feel sorry for you, Mike.
And then I end up just coughing it up, man. That guy's playing some phenomenal pool right now.
Don't bet against my boy.
It don't matter what it is. Hey, listen. Every round I'm just peeling off. I'm just paying it over and over again. He's playing fantastic though. And whenever we interviewed Mika like months ago, this is probably like 4 or 5 months ago, and he was talking about coming back and playing pool again. And I said, "You got another run in you, like another world championship run in you?" And like without even hesitation, he said, "Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah." And I mean, he's proven it, man. That guy, I mean, like he still has some incredible firepower. Hats off to him, man.
Well, I told the story one time about being in a pool hall in Vegas, and I'm across the entire room of this pool hall, and I can hear these balls hitting the back of the pockets on another table, like, 60, 70 yards away with all kinds of tables in between. And I couldn't take it. I had to go see who it was. And it was the Las Vegas Q Club, and Mika Immonen was practicing firing balls into the pockets. So
it don't matter what game, because even in one pocket, man, he can just run 8 and out. I mean, he's just his pocketing ability is just so strong, and his decision making those a little off sometimes because he thinks he can go and make everything. That if I'm gonna go and knock any aspect of his game, but man, is he still exciting to watch. I mean, his break is just power. I mean, just soul game is just nothing but power, man. He's just to still be killing the field the way that he's doing. It's exciting, man.
Yeah,
it is.
Yep. So I guess going to the Eurotour, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz wins that. I don't have the results pulled up for that. I mean, I guess I kind of do, but it's this really, really bad flow chart that is just not a great thing. Let me try this one.
I read a comment on here that somebody made about that Poland could make up a team that could compete with the USA in the Mosconi Cup.
They can.
It's true.
Yeah. Poland's got the deepest. Yeah, they're probably the deepest country in Europe as far as, but they don't have a number one guy.
Oh,
they've got they've got 5 number 2s.
Yeah, not the superstar. Okay.
That's not true. You watch Victor Zielinski play, and you tell me he's not a number 1. He might not have the major title yet, but that dude is a number 1.
That's what I mean. They all get 5 through 8 and or reach the top 4. just haven't crossed the finish line much yet.
Sure.
But all huge talents,
Victor
for sure.
That dude is a beast. Like he's.
Yeah. He is, and he'll be a number one as soon as he wins a tournament.
Yeah, well, that's fair. He's a number one talent right now, though. All right, so I guess I had this up. I don't even, to be honest,
Ruiz is one of those
know.
guys. He's on that European B team that's just an afterthought sometimes, but really he's a number one. Ruiz is just a phenomenal player. I've been saying it for years. I think he's been playing better than David, and it's no knock on David. It's just because they're partners, and David gets invited, and he's got World Pool Master victories and all that. He doesn't get invited to the party, kind of like Lechner in a sense. You know, he's not going to get on that World Cup of Pool because of Albin and Mario's successes over the years. But boy, I tell you, man, Europe's B team, I'd go and fire on them against Europe's A team. I'll give you that, because they can go and get there, every single one of those guys.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you I'm gonna go over the results of this in a second, but I'm gonna give you the last, because I don't want to go any deeper than this because I'm lazy. I'm gonna give you, these are the last matches that Sanchez Ruiz played in this. 9-4 win. All right, so 9-4 win, and then he goes his next match and plays in the final 32, 9-5. The next match, 9-4. The next match, 9-0. The next match, 9-4. The finals match, 9-5. Nobody even got to 6 against him.
That's pretty strong.
And he's not like so he beat Aleska Pesej
With a P. Yeah, he plays good.
Pesej. I to be honest, this is the first time I think I've ever seen his name. I mean, obviously he plays good. He got to the final of but he beat Mark Beisterbosch in the semifinals. In the quarterfinals, he beat Yemnik Pongers. I've never seen that name. I don't even know who any of these people are.
Yeah, you're not dazzling me with the lineup.
Oh, goodness. I don't even know who any of these people are. Frank Candela. Frank Candela is an Italian monster.
What? You killed the momentum, Nate.
Yeah, you should have just stuck with the scores, buddy.
He beat
That's funny.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
No, but he's been doing it since the first International Open years ago, man. I remember I was sitting there watching him play Copigny when Co was just on top of the mountain, and I think he beat him something like 9-2 or something. I mean, it was a really.
He had a great run.
Yeah, and he's just, Europe's just so deep, man, and he may not be the most fundamentally sound, but he doesn't make very many mistakes. That's the thing about Ruiz, you know.
So then I guess moving on to the European Championships, which are going on right now. The only event that is completed at this point is the 14.1, which I got to give a huge shout out to Ina Copland, because she snapped off the women's side, which is awesome. She's been a big friend of the podcast since the virtual events, and she's really cool and really awesome. So congratulations to Ina. And Fedor wins the men's side, probably kicking himself in the butt for being basically 2 weeks late on getting back into the winner's circle. He needed this 3 weeks ago to get into that Mosconi Cup bid.
Yeah. He was the first guy out, that's for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, unless there's anything else that you guys want to talk about right away.
Comment.
Go on.
About commentators. Okay. And I had an opportunity and there was a fellow named who was commentating with, I believe, Joey Ryan at the time. And I seriously haven't enjoyed listening to more in my life because more than about play, much more than about the play. You had a guy on that commentary that was telling us about the people who were playing the game, not necessarily how they were playing or what the shots were or what we can all see visibly, but much more my insider information about the personalities and the players in their lives. And I was thrilled to death, Mike, with your commentary about that. I thought it was unique and it was delicious.
I appreciate that, man. I try to be me, and I'm fine until Joey comes on and tells me how many people are watching, and then but other than that, it's kind of like in here. Other than that, it's just us four, So I just enjoy the banter and cutting up with you guys and talking about pool, whether it's current events or the history of it, like the Hall of Fame. No matter what it is, man. I'm just a sucker for all things pool. And
don't stop doing
really
it.
Just enjoy it.
Don't stop.
Thanks.
Next opportunity you have, jump in.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.
I guess I'm gonna have to start listening. What the hell?
But he adds, you got the commentators that tell you the play-by-play in baseball, but then you have the color guy, right?
I watch baseball with the sound off at all times.
Oh, you do?
Do you really, Mike?
Absolutely.
Man. Oh man, you're missing. I'm a big Joe Buck fan.
I like John Smoltz a lot. I do like John Smoltz.
Yeah,
I think he's phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
In Chicago,
color guy in there.
In Chicago, we've got Steve Stone, who also does just a phenomenal job. But overall, a lot of times the play-by-play guys annoy the hell out of me, and so I usually just turn the sound off.
No, you can't. Bob Euchre annoys you.
Yes,
he does.
And I will.
Oh.
Yeah. But I will listen to you, Mike, because you got things to say.
I appreciate it, man. I'm just being me.
Yeah, it was fun for me to watch that pool. I just had fun because of you.
Thanks. Yeah. Hopefully we're gonna do it again soon. We're gonna try to make it out to BCA again in March. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it.
What about Derby?
Yeah, no, for sure Derby, but they got their own, own deal.
Yeah, but you could do a side cast there. I mean, the more the merrier.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah, I'd love to. It's kind of hard. I don't want to step on any toes, but we had a fun time with it, and there's plenty of matches that people want to go and watch and see. So any way that we can go and help add to it,
that was
what they
cool
already got going on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Being able not just to watch the main events that were being broadcast, but the side streams.
Yeah,
that was wonderful.
Sure. We're just trying to add to it, So we appreciate that.
Cool.
Nate, we can't hear you, buddy.
You're muted, Nate.
Your mic again.
I'm going to press this button. I tried to press that button 18 times. I couldn't even hit it. So I guess that's going to wrap this up. The only thing I want to say is in good time, we are going to all rally together as the Cue It Up Network, and we are going to get Robert Hovick into the Wisconsin Billiards Hall of Fame next year. It's going to happen.
Do it.
And then Mike Panozzo can come and introduce you.
There we go.
I don't know if I'd be qualified for that, but yeah, that's no, that would be cool. I saw the lineup this year. It was great. I'm sorry I didn't get up there for that because there were a lot of good old friends in that group.
Oh, sure.
I think the national one is Mark Wilson made it into the Wisconsin. Not many people know, but he actually is a Wisconsin guy. He grew up in Madison, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Mark
first
Wilson,
time I played Mark Wilson, I was 16. And I drove 8 hours to Madison just to play him.
At Unique?
Yep.
Unfortunately, I missed that.
I don't want to tell you what the score was, what I lost.
You quit on him?
Enough that you had to sell your car to get home.
Well, I was broke when I went home, but I had enough to buy gas, but gas was only 40 cents a gallon. So,
yeah. So, I mean, he's Mark Wilson. What was he? A Mosconi Cup captain for 4 years, 5 years.
He made the first winning 9-ball in the very first Mosconi Cup.
And he also played in the Mosconi Cup as well.
Yep.
So pretty famous player, I would say. Him, maybe short of Tyler now, but he's probably the most well-known Wisconsin professional player. Him or maybe Larry Neville.
Larry's got to be.
I'd say Mark.
I think Mark's got him comfortably. I think Tyler probably surpasses both of them now, but it's probably just because of social media allowing for the traveling of news a little bit more. But that could be a recency bias thing too. I don't know.
I don't know. Willie Munson, is he that known?
No. I'd say
Probably.
nationally, the most well-known guy to come out of Wisconsin is Jerry Bryseth, but
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I would agree with that.
Right.
Wait, you wouldn't say the Cue It Up Network?
you're catching up. You're nipping at his heels.
No,
Nate
listen,
Mindham.
congratulations to Tyler though. I want to just end it,
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
show with
Oh,
that because
Definitely.
he's worked his ass off all year long. So hard work does pay off, and I know at times he's gotten discouraged over the off the table pool stuff when it comes to the selection process. So for him to go and get back on the team after just grinding the last 6 months plus, congratulations, buddy.
Yep.
And now let's work on getting Oscar on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, have you, Mike Panozzo, have you got any wind of other states in the country that are starting their own state Hall of Fame?
Well, Arizona's had a Hall of Fame for years.
Okay.
No, not for years. They've had it for I mean, I guess it depends what you consider years. I think they've had it for 3. They started after we did. No, they started after we did. Okay. Mike Howerton actually came to John Kramer, who started the Wisconsin one, to help them set up Arizona. They were after us.
Yeah, I thought they were around longer, but no. Yeah, no, I don't know.
Okay.
To tell you the truth, don't know.
Yep. As far as I know, it's just Wisconsin and Arizona.
Okay.
I've heard rumors that Minnesota was going to try to put one together, and I also heard rumors that New York and Oklahoma had intentions to, but it's a big project and it's very easy to have that fail. So
yeah.
I think I hear somebody in Molina Mike's trying to get some.
I hear a baby crying.
Yeah, my daughter's had enough. She's over.
Is that Dominic? Is that Dominic?
Yeah, it's about time for her nap. So I'm gonna have to run, boys.
All right. I think that's a good way to wrap this up. All right. Congratulations, Tyler, one more time. Let's go, Oscar. And thank you guys for joining us. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Until next week.
See you, gentlemen. Nice to see y'all.